how'd you learn about this relationship between Mr. Wade? I think this has been acknowledged now by both parties, correct?
It has, yes.
It's a dispute as to when it began, but it's acknowledged that they had I don't know if they still do, but at least had a romantic relationship.
Yes, that's
How'd you figure that out? How'd you find out?
Here is Ashley Merchant explaining how she found out the information that Nathan Wade and Fani Willis had this romantic relationship and what the hell was going on with Terrence Bradley, because I don't know why he would just go and give up all his client's secrets to this woman. Yeah, I said it was a honeypot scenario, but I could be wrong because I just wouldn't understand why an attorney would give up his client's secrets to the person that he's arguing against in court, right? It just never made any sense to me, but let's hear what she says.
Employees.
Back to your uncovering the relationship.
Yes,
How did you figure it out?
So Terrence Bradley was Nathan Wade's law partner originally, and he was also his lawyer in the divorce. I did not at the time know that they had filed for divorce. I knew Nathan's wife. I knew both of them historically from Cobb County. I mean, people knew them in Cobb County. Mr. Bradley actually called me after an article. We were looking into the financial irregularities. We're looking into how much money had been paid because everybody in the case was kind of like, why do you have special counsel?
Case?
On this case, yeah. Like,
was
why
Bradley still a partner with Wade at that time?
He was not. There was testimony that their partnership ended in summer of 2023. So it had just ended, is my understanding. And it's kind of unclear. Now,
for those of you who don't remember, it ended because Bradley was alleged to have assaulted someone who worked at the firm. So he left $30,000 in escrow account, and all of a sudden, it all went away. So that's why that relationship ended. Somebody had to get paid.
Like what month? The testimony is very unclear as to when they actually. I have when they dissolved. I think it was September, but it's very unclear as to their partnership. And I will say their partnership was a loose partnership. They had a partnership with the bar, but they all had separate legal entities. So each of them were filed as the law office of Terrence Bradley, law office of Nathan Wade. They had some joint bank accounts, but then they had some separate bank accounts. So I don't really know the exact structure. It was a very loose type of organization, but they were working together. And so Terrence actually called me. He had seen an article where I had done open records with another lawyer, Manny Aurora, and we had uncovered how much money everybody had made. The news had gotten wind of that, and I later learned that the news had open records to get all of my open records. So every time I would get something, the news would get it.
All right. So in other words, you can't, there's certain things that you can get that's available to everyone. For instance, I think like in New York, their open records would be everyone's salary. So if you know someone who works for like the city or state of New York, you can actually go and see their salary. It's open records. You can get to see it. So she started doing open records requests for this information that's supposed to be available to the public. It's essentially like a FOIA request. And she's getting like, the contracts, how much they paid for this person, how much they paid this person. And it's interesting because the news media said, okay, she's looking into something. So we're going to do an open records request onto whatever she's looking into. So when she would get an open records request, like, hey, for the salary of Nathan Wade or whatever, they would also then get an open records request of what she looked into. And then they would do, okay, yeah, so she's looking at Nathan Wade. We want the same thing. And that's how it's again. So it's smart. It's a smart way to do it if you're the news media. An open records request of an open records request.
Because I wondered how that happened. But so that somebody published that, and I had done some more open records. And Miss Willis actually called Mr. Bradley when I did these open records and said, they're looking into us. And he called me because he was worried about it. And so we had a conversation, and he actually...
So that's important. Okay, so they're doing these open records requests, right? And Fani Willis freaks out and is like, they're looking into us. But now, to me, that makes it seem like if I'm not doing anything wrong, I don't care, right? It's like, all right, they're looking to see how much I made, right? Go look at it. It's available to the public. So what? Right? Why would I be scared? But when you got something that you're trying to hide, then it becomes so. Now, remember where we're at, though. We've got to remember where we're at this time. Bradley is Wade's divorce attorney, right? He's his divorce attorney. Remember, he says everything Wade told him about the relationship between Fani Willis and Nathan Wade, all the stuff that he learned about, he learned through his legal representation of Nathan Wade and his divorce. That's who we're talking about. Nathan Wade's lawyer.
Actually asked me, do I need a lawyer? What's going on? What are you investigating? What's the parameters of this? And we have.
Now, why would Terrence Bradley call her? Remember, she's representing a defendant in the case. Why would he call her saying, do I need a lawyer? What the hell did he do wrong? He hasn't done anything wrong yet. Does he need a lawyer? Because they're looking into open public records? I don't know. It just doesn't seems weird to me. It's like there might be something bigger here, because why would you freak out to the point where you're calling the defense attorney for one of the Trump co-defendants, asking her if he needs an attorney, and he's an attorney.
A conversation. I said, well, my interests are different than yours. I represent Mr. Roman, so I can't advise you. That would be a conflict. He asked if John, my husband, could, and I said, no, that's a conflict too.
He asked if they can represent him. There's got to be more here. This just doesn't make any sense. Listen, people, think about what's going on here. Nathan Wade's divorce attorney, who has all his secrets, who was his lawyer, has now called Ashley Merchant, the lawyer for someone Nathan Wade is prosecuting, and is giving him up all his secrets, and on top of that, is asking them to represent him. Terrence Bradley is asking Ashley Merchant to represent him against his client, who he still represents. I don't know. This just doesn't make sense.
If you feel like you need somebody, you need to talk to someone else. At the time, that was early in September. I had court in Cobb County, and I ran into Mr. Bradley. I was in Judge Harris's courtroom. I think it was either September 11th or 13th. I checked my calendar.
Okay, so that's important, because remember, they don't know exactly when it was dissolved. So this is when things were dissolving anyway, between the partnership. So now we're in September. They're on the courthouse in Cobb County. He sees her. Now, this is where I'm talking about the honeypot situation, because I know me and Lito, we believe she honeypotted him a little, sign. But let's hear what she says. So now they meet. So she doesn't have any information now. He's talking about representing. I need help. What are you guys looking into? I'm scared to death. Okay. A couple of months later, they're at a courthouse.
A week or so ago, but it was one of those dates. And I was taking a plea in front of Judge Harris, and Mr. Bradley was also there. Another lawyer who ultimately represented Mr. Bradley at our hearing, B.C. Chopra, he was there in court also. And then a friend of all of ours, who's a district attorney, his name is Burt Cohen, he was taking the plea with me. And Burt and I have known each other for a long time. Terrence, BC, everybody's known each other for a long time. We were all sitting in a conference room attached to that courtroom, waiting for the pleas, chit-chatting, took the plea, went back in, and Mr. Bradley essentially went through the whole thing and said, well, this is what's really happening.
So he didn't only say this to her, it sounds like. There were other people in the room. He's just spilling this off. So can we get those other people to testify? Will those other people say, like, yeah, I was there when he said all this? That means he straight up perjured himself. Either he was lying in or he's lying in court. Argument can be made, yeah, I was lying to them, but I wasn't lying in court. That's generally what they say, people. I lied to her. I didn't lie when I put my hand up. I didn't remember any of that stuff, but I was lying when I said that. That maybe is out, but right now, with all these witnesses, this is crazy.
I had a notepad, and I took notes on all the things to ask for open records.
So what did he say was really happening when he said this is what's happening?
He said that they met at a judicial conference before. He was very specific that it was before she became DA, because that was one of the things that he couldn't remember when.
Now remember, that's important, because Fani, Willis, and Nathan Wade say that their relationship started only after he began working for the DA's office. So this is way after she became DA. So if the relationship started before she became DA, both Nathan Wade and Fani Willis have perjured themselves in the court.
And the judicial conference was, but he knew that it was before she became DA.
When did she become DA?
She became DA in, it would have been January 2021.
Okay.
So she became DA January 1st, 2021, but she had a transition team leading up to that. So, and Mr. Wade was in charge of her transition team. So Mr. Bradley told me all of that. We met for about an hour. Said that they had been together. They met at this conference. Nathan was still married, and Mr. Bradley was upset because of what happened in the divorce. He was upset because they were still married, the Wades were still married, and he essentially just left her after meeting Miss Willis and dropping the kids off at college.
Let's try to break this down. Nathan Wade's divorce attorney, he tells Ashley that he's given up all his secrets, all these no-nos, the stuff that's attorney-client privilege to her. Says, I'm giving it up to you because I'm mad at how my client, who I'm representing in the divorce, treated his ex-wife. So I'm going to tell you everything, even the attorney-client privilege stuff, to you. That doesn't pass the sniff test. Do we really think that was his reason? Now he's giving it up in front of everybody. Maybe that's the reason why that'd be believable. There's other people in the room Or was it one, because it could have been one of those situations where you're in a conference room, but people are on the other side of the room and I'm on this side of the room, we're having a conversation and nobody's really paying attention to us. So maybe it could be that thing. But she said I took out a notepad and started writing stuff down. So she's writing down stuff. He knows she's into it, but that's his reason. That's the reason. That just doesn't make any sense. That reason just doesn't make any sense. Let me know to you if you believe that's the reason why a divorce attorney is going to give up his client because he didn't like the way he treated his wife during the divorce. So he's going to give up essentially his license. He's saying, matter of fact, don't give it to the ex-wife. He give it to some third party. And I'm going to tell you all his secrets. It don't make sense, people. I'm sorry. I like Ashley, but that motivation, it doesn't make sense to me. Maybe it makes sense to you guys. Let me know. Maybe you guys can convince me. Maybe there may be an angle here I'm not seeing.
So,
and Bradley was Wade's attorney in that divorce action you're talking about? Okay.
Yes, I didn't know that at the time.
But they were law partners.
They had been,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
And I actually don't know if he was still his attorney.
But I'm glad they even got to this. Like, he was his divorce attorney. So, but again, she's about to say it now. She did. I think she stopped. I stopped it right in mid-sentence.
And I actually don't know if he was still his attorney when he talked to me. I don't know if he was or not.
All right, so at the time that they were talking, she doesn't even know if he was still his attorney or not. So it's even that, it could even be that close. But that's crazy, though. That's crazy. Because he was the attorney representing him in the divorce. He filed the paperwork, sat for depositions. Remember, that's what the judge said, sat for depositions. Filed paperwork, well, at least signed it under his name. So we know he represented him. Insane.
All right.
Because at some point, Mr. Wade represented himself, and then he hired a different lawyer. So I didn't know anything about the divorce at that time.
So Bradley did not like the way Wade had treated his wife.
He did not.
But he represented him.
He did not like the way he had treated his wife. He didn't like what was happening in the divorce proceeding, yes.
So he didn't like the way he treated his wife. He didn't like what was going on in the divorce proceedings. So he goes and backstabs his client by telling you, Ashley, she's over here. Ashley, I'm going to tell you all my client's secrets because I don't like the way he's treating his adversary in a divorce. I don't know if it's believable, people. I'm sorry. I know we all love Ashley. She's the reason why we're here. I don't know.
Okay.
And I mean, I remember specifically him saying, I handle my business, things like that. Like, that I don't leave my wife without alimony because this, and we talked about it. I mean, Miss Wade had been a stay-at-home mom for, they'd been married almost 30 years and literally.
Really? She's selling this too. He was saying things like, I take care of my... What? The guy who's out there sexually assaulting people like crazy? The guy who's giving up his client's secrets to you? This guy has some moral character? Like, I wouldn't treat my woman like that. No, you would cheat on her and sexually assault 2 other women. That's what you would do. Ashley, this is not helpful. This makes me think that you're hiding something from me. That there's something else going on here. I'm going to rewind it because I'm so confused about this point. Damn, we got like halfway through the video. I got to rewind it. I have to rewind it because we got to go back. I'm going back. I just need to hear that again.
I remember specifically him saying, I handle my business, things like that. Like,
so he's saying specifically, I handle my business. By what? By sexually assaulting 2 other women, losing $20,000 or $30,000, backstabbing your client, likely going to lose your license. How is that handling your business? And these are the things that he's doing to his wife, right? He's married. Terrence Bradley's married, right? And all this shit is happening. He just got fired for sexually assaulting a coworker. We're supposed to believe that he's so morally strapped about how Nathan Wade was acting during his divorce that he would give up his law license and just give up all his secrets. I don't know if I buy it, people.
That I don't leave my wife without alimony because this, and we talked about it. I mean, Miss Wade had been a stay-at-home mom for, they'd been married almost 30 years, and literally it was right after they dropped their youngest off at college that he said, move out, And so we went through, I was obviously interested in, wait, what? What's happening? Walk me through this. And so he was telling me about the access cards, that Mr. Wade had access cards, telling me about the contracts, told me about their contract, that they had that Nathan had brought them the contract for the first appearance hearings. They had a contract for that. We didn't talk about that yet. That they had the contract for the taint work, and then ultimately that Nathan was hired as the attorney on this case. That they had been dating before, and he told me, they met at hotels. He would go to her place, and I remember him saying, you need to find her bestie, who they had a falling out. That's the person whose condo it was that they would meet at. And
did you later determine who that bestie was?
Yes, it was Robin Yurdy. It was not until sometime later that I determined that. It was very difficult to determine.
So Terrence Bradley even was the one that pointed them to Robin Yurdy. Robin Yurdy is the woman who Fani Willis stayed in her condo. She stayed in Robin Yurdy's condo during that time, right before she became DA, because there was like a threat against her. So she stayed in that condo, and that woman testified that the relationship started in 2019, that they were all, lovey-dovey back then. So that's why that name is important. But she wouldn't have gotten robbed to Robin if it wasn't for Terrence Bradley. And don't forget, he's just doing this because he doesn't like the way Nathan Wade is treating his wife in the divorce. That he was the divorce attorney on, right? He was the one filing his paperwork. He was the one doing all his work. He was the attorney in the divorce. So, I don't know. It's just something's up here, people. Something's up.
And who that was, because he did not remember her name.
But he knew her by sight?
He did.
Did he later confirm to you or identify who she was?
Yes. So I had sent him a couple pictures, or showed him a couple pictures of some other folks or
This
names.
was in January of 24, right before your motion?
It was. It may have even been after I filed the motion. It was around the time. It was either before or around the time, but it was in January. I had gotten some open records requests from the DA's office. They had a contract. Yep.
We just put on the screen
There it is,
some of the
perfect.
text messages that you produced to us.
Yes,
This
yes.
is from your phone.
It is. And so
You're
this-
talking
Terrence
to
Bradley.
Terrence Bradley, I see over there on the left.
yes. And so when you see on the 14th, that one that's right in the middle that says file attachment with MIME type, that is a picture of her. So it doesn't show up on this, but it's actually, there's a picture
So
of
while
Miss-
you're texting, you're shooting him a picture to see if he can identify Robin Yurdy?
Yes, yes.
Did he
And-
identify her?
He did, yes. He said, yes, that's her. That's the East Point. And he thought the apartment was in East Point. I later found out it was in Hapeville, but those are very
Right.
close in close
So
areas.
he knew they would meet at that apartment?
He did, yes. He knew all
Okay.
about it. And it was hard to find Miss Yurdy. What happened, and she was Robin Bryant, and then she got married and was Yurdy. I did an open records request for a contract that the DA's office got. It's called
This says she hired a girlfriend. That's what Thomas Bradley says. Like a bestie. It was her place. He gave it all up. And he said the only reason why he knows this is because he represented Nathan Wade in a divorce. And he got it from his client in furtherance of the divorce. So, and she said his motivation was he didn't like the way Nathan Wade's ex-wife. No, this is a little bit above and beyond. A little above and beyond.
critical mention. She has I guess he's an attorney, but he's sort of in charge of communications. His name is Jeff DeSantis. He, right after Ms. Willis had opened the investigation in this case, that same week, he contracted a company called Critical Mention, which is a media monitoring company. They put a dollar figure basically on your media presence, and they give you these analytical reports. And they say, hey, you did great on MSNBC. That's $1 million worth of, stuff for your brand. The Fani Willis brand is doing well, or this phrase is doing well, things like that.
She had an employee in her office that was responsible for promoting her image, her publicity.
She had a publicly funded contract for this. So Jeff DeSantis. Jeff DeSantis contracted or called this company, and it's in the emails. I think I provided those as well, but contacted Critical Mention and said, we need to hire you to do media monitoring. And it was the same week that she had sent a letter to Raffensperger and Kemp about this case. Said, we need to have a contract to do media monitoring. Got $10,000 approved, paid $10,000 for a year contract, for an annual contract.
Who approved that?
Jeff DeSantis' email said the county approved it, and his emails indicated that it was hard to get approved, that he had to really push, I think is what he said. There's some language to that, but the county paid for it.
Do other DAs do that?
I'd never even heard of media monitoring. I didn't even know it existed. No. It was very shocking. But so I got some of the emails about this media monitoring. So I did open records, and again, once I got them, they shut me down and wouldn't give me anything else. But so these emails have attachments, they're PDFs, and you can see in the emails the hyperlinks to them where you can actually see the analytical reports. That's what I wanted to get, and obviously nobody would give those to me. But these emails showed a trail where two people in her office, so Miss Willis, Mr. DeSantis, and then Robin Yurdy, were the ones that had access to this Critical Mention profile. It's a platform that you can log into and see, how am I doing in the media.
What was Robin Yurdy's role in the DA's office?
She was a liaison between the news organizations. So she said that when CNN, MSNBC wanted her on, they would call Robin and she would coordinate it. She would do her hair and makeup, and then she would coordinate her interviews. But so how I found Robin was I'm going through these emails, and all of a sudden I see an email from Mr. DeSantis saying, take Robin off of this account. She's no longer with the office. And I was like, oh, I wonder if that's her. And so I found a picture of her and I asked Terrence, is that her? Because I found out she had been fired or been let go or had quit or whatever it was. And so that's how I was able to figure out who Robin Yurdy was. Then we were able to run her information, get an address, and that's how we were able to narrow down where this Hapeville condo was.
Okay, so that's where basically Miss Willis and Mr. Wade would meet for their relationship.
All right, so I don't want to say I still think it's a honeypot, because she did a hell of a lot of work. He gave everything up, but I think Terrence Bradley I think he may have been upset. Something may have happened, but in that first meeting when he blurts out everything, maybe he just might have just been blurting it out just for whatever. But to go on back and forth, let me see pictures. Here, let's look for this person. Let's do this. Let's do that. Yeah, I know this. Here's the people you can find. Like even talking about, look for her, the security. Looking for security detail about right when she was hired. They'll tell you about it. Like, this guy was going in. And I think I don't think her her explanation of he was like, I can't treat my wife like that. I'm gonna be a man. Blah blah blah. I think it smells like BS, prime BS. But I do want to say, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for this woman. She did the work. She's a fantastic attorney all the way around. A+. If this woman represents you, you are probably in amazing hands in the legal profession. But I think she just doesn't want to doesn't want to realize the truth is that sometimes you use what you got. And I think Terrence Bradley's being super friendly to her, but I don't think it's because that he was just so hurt about how the divorce, like Nathan Wade's divorce, was going to violate his oath and give up all his client's secrets to the point where he may lose his license. So he should lose his license. He probably is going to lose his license based on what she's saying right now. Because Terrence Bradley's admitted he got that information because of his attorney-client relationship with Nathan Wade. I don't know, people. This has got me perplexed. Let me know how you feel in the comment section. Don't forget, we're going to be doing part 2 of this. The next one we're going to be doing is going to be receipts shown in the Georgia hearing, show trips between DA Willis and special prosecutors. So we're going to look at the receipts. Then after that, we're going to look at the phone records, show the late night communications. Then we're going to look at the cost of the trips. And those would be like the next 3 or 4 subsequent videos. But I think to this one, it's fascinating that he just gave it up. But I don't think his motivation was do the right thing by Nathan Wade's wife, Jocelyn. I don't think that's his motivation. I think it's got to be something else. But with that, don't forget, like, share, subscribe to the great YouTube stuff. My name is Nick the Lawyer. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.